Thanks for watching this review and walkthrough of the DeLonghi AC230 air purifier. Now, if you're like me, who constantly scurries around the internet looking for products to help them relieve their allergies, then you come to the right place. Because not only am I going to walk you through this product right now, but I'll also tell you a few things you can do to help relieve your allergies. I do talk about allergies a lot because I suffer with it personally quite severely, and it's a massive detriment to my life. So more information on what I do can be found at longlifehealth.net. But for now, I'll walk you through this air purifier. This video will also be beneficial if you are looking at this air purifier and you've just looked for a review. So yeah, allergies. Anything that causes an airborne allergy, so something that causes you to react as a pollutant in the air, whether that's dust, pet hair, pollen, mold, damp, pet dander, dust mites, smoke, anything you can think of that's in the air that causes, that can be breathed in, that can enter our systems through the eyes, through the nose, through the mouth, and if you have an allergic reaction, you produce, your body's natural response is to produce histamine. Of course, if you're someone that suffers with allergies, you'll be familiar with antihistamines, which suppress the production of histamine, and that's meant to stop the symptoms from happening. Of course, if you're someone that suffers as severely as I do, it's not nearly proficient enough, and the best thing to do is to not really rely on these things, although they are useful to have, but the best thing to do is to control the environments that we're in, not just try and suppress the symptoms, but control the stuff from entering our bodies in the first place. I'm going to walk through this now rather than going off onto a tangent too much. So I've had air purifiers before, and the air purifier I had previously was a Vax air purifier, and like most air purifiers and traditional air purifiers, it's okay at cleaning the air to an extent. It had a two-way filtration system, so it picks up larger particles, and then anything that gets through that first filter gets picked up by a HEPA filter, and then that picks up microparticles, maybe things such as pollen, and they will claim it picks up 99.9% of impurities and so forth. Now, the problem is with them devices is after a while, if you're looking for something consistent and long-term based, they can really start to do more harm than good. And the reason for that is one, they're not really getting rid of the stuff that's causing your allergic reaction in the first place. Those type of air purifiers are good for when you're cooking, to pick up extra steam and maybe a tiny bit of smell, and you will see it pick up stuff in the air on the filter like dust and stuff, but all the micro fine particles that really cause the reactions and germs and mold and damp, it won't really pick up. So if you're someone that's looking for something to leave on all the time, which is what you should be looking for, then this is a better device to go for. Because otherwise those other devices, the components within them start to get dusty, and what they can start doing is blowing out and circulating just dusty, impure air, which is obviously counterproductive for what you want it to do. This air purifier has a 5-way filtration system. Now, as I said, I'm not going to open it, I'm not going to show you the components, but I'm going to walk you through what they will do. The first filter, it's just and it's all removable, but the first one is washable. So if you just rinse it through water, you'll see and notice dust like you'll probably see in a tumble dryer or something like that. It will pick up larger particles, it will pick up hair, it will pick up bugs or anything like that. And it's good that it's washable. If you are washing it, it's important that you thoroughly dry it, because the next time you put it in, if it's slightly damp, when that dust then hits it, it's going to clog up and become quite nasty. Now the second filter, which is where most air purifiers max out, is just like a HEPA filter, so it'll get rid of microparticles, finer dust, pollen, and stuff like that, which isn't too bad. And this one has those two, but then goes on to have an active carbon filter, which obviously the more filters essentially increases the chance of it getting rid of the impurities in the air. But they add an active carbon filter because it helps reduce odours as well. So even if you're someone that's into just fresh smelling air, then this is a device that can help you do that. Something that has a carbon filter will help reduce odours. And I guess that's advisable for people with pets, for people that have maybe children with sweaty clothes lying around, or anything that can cause an odour, basically, even cigarette smoke. An active carbon filter will help suck out them odours and make the air, even if it's not doing its job, it smells cleaner and it will give you somewhat peace of mind. Now the next filter on this device is a nano silver filter, and I believe this is good for germs and bacteria and even finer particles that may have passed through the previous three, which is a good feature because you don't really see that nano silver filter in other air purifiers. And then some call it overkill. I say it's peace of mind and it's a good feature to have. But after that, there's a UV light. That's not the thing you're seeing now. The UV light is inside the mechanism that you actually can't see. So the UV light is a sterilization method. So they use UV light technology in hospitals. They use them in even certain kitchens now, and certain public toilets have UV light, which just sterilizes your hands, worktop surfaces. And obviously this is the final filtration method. So the air passes a UV light, and then any germs and viruses in the air supposedly get zapped and they get killed, and then they don't get pumped back into the air. That's good for anyone that's suffering with cold or flu in the house, and you don't really want to pass on, you want to reduce the risk of contagion. I guess it's also good for children's nurseries, somewhere that's really prone to getting, where sickness is prone to getting passed around, schools, work environments, offices, wherever. This air purifier will cover you for that with that UV light. Now the Ioniser I will go on to in a second, and if you're someone that's researching loads of air purifiers on the net, it's important to know what an Ioniser actually is and when to use it. But before that, the lights you're seeing at the front, and this is a really practical feature, not just a gimmicky feature, it's really practical. And the reason for that is it indicates and tells you the quality of the air in your home at this moment in time. So blue indicates good, which is the maximum on this. Green is satisfactory, and orange is poor air quality. What it's not doing, there's no scientist in there with a laboratory like analysing the subatomical particles, nothing like that is happening, but it will pick up on the density of pollutants in the air, and then accordingly, if you've got it on the auto mode and the air quality sensor is on, which is what the lights are at the front, it will pick up on them particles that have been added to the air when you've sprayed deodorant or something that's passed through the air, and it notices it needs to work a bit harder. It will do that automatically, and all that happens is the fan speeds up, and that slows down again when it realizes the air has improved. So I'm going to do a little example now. I'm just going to spray a bit of air freshener, which isn't good for airborne pollutants. But what can you do when you have a wife that likes things that smell nice? So if you watch that, what should happen automatically is that's picked up automatically on the change in air. So that doesn't necessarily have to be an air freshener. That could have been maybe a dog walk through, maybe you're cooking, whatever's happening. But the good thing is you don't need to do it. It's all automatically, and it does it itself. As you can see, it's now gone from green to orange, which is now indicating that my air quality is poor. That then has turned the fan up and made it louder. That's the loudest it's going to get, which is fairly loud. I don't think you'd be able to sleep with it on. And the blue mode that I originally started with is quiet, and you are able to sleep with it. I'd say as another tip on the side, if you are using this in a bedroom and you are sleeping with it on, turn the lights off. You want to sleep in a pitch black like room. You want it to be as dark as possible. Any light, whether you realise it or not, will interfere with the quality of your sleep. Now, I'll show you the features on the top. Just bear with me 1 second. The features on the top are obviously a power button, a timer, which is ideal if you're leaving the house or you want it on for a certain amount of time. The auto mode, which is what I tend to leave it on all the time. Just let it do its thing, it'll pick up, it does all the work for you. That's ideally what you want if you're paying fair amount of money for something. Fan speeds you can obviously trigger manually, but obviously on auto it's just realised that it needs to suck up that the air freshener, so it's gone orange, and the fan speed has gone to maximum. Now this part is important, so anyone looking at air purifiers may have seen or noticed the word Ioniser. Now I'm not really going to go into the science about it, one, because I don't understand it enough, and two, because it would take too much time. But the idea is that an ioniser, when switched on, this is off at the moment, I'll just show you it, on, off. An ioniser is within this system, you can't see it, but it switches on and the air passes through the ioniser and pushes out negatively charged ions. And that's essentially meant to clean and purify the air further. And it can help doing that by attaching itself to particles in the air, and then they gather on positively charged. I said I wasn't going to go into the science, but I've just gone off on one. They attach themselves to positively charged items. For example, bookshelves and worktop surfaces like that, and anything that's positively charged, it will attach itself to. So it turns all the dust and all the crap in the air negatively charged, and then it attaches itself to a surface. You then have to clean it off that surface. So it's good in that sense. But you only want to use this feature when you're out of the house. You don't want to be on. You don't want to be around this feature when it's on. And the reason for that is there's studies and there's research showing some fairly substantial evidence that when this ionized particles can cause lung damage, basically. So as counterintuitive as it seems, and it seems like a worry, you only really need to worry about it if I was stood over this, breathing all this in when the ionizer was on a long-term basis, it'd probably cause me some issues. However, if I was to leave this on for 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 8 hour whilst I'm out of the house, and then come back, it would be perfectly fine. And it does a benefit to the air because it's gathered all the crap on the side, and then you can just maybe do it before you plan to do a spring clean or something like that. That's a feature to be able to turn the lights off if you don't want them. So obviously if you want it in the bedroom when you're sleeping, I'm going to leave that on. And as you can see now that it's sucked up that air freshener, it's gone back to blue, which indicates good quality. The price I pay for this, if you're suffering with allergies, you've got to invest, and you want to reduce your symptoms, you've got to invest in some. You definitely got to invest in some items, some appliances. This is something that can help, and I definitely recommend you invest into this one. After my extensive research and looking, etc., etc., I landed on this one. This hit my budget, not like domestically air purifier. Like the domestic air purifiers available are much more expensive than this anyway. There was another one that was around, £400. This I paid about £209, but definitely a worthwhile investment. And considering my previous air purifier was around £120 for just under £100 more, I've got so many more features, and I've got such a more thorough filtration process happening throughout the day, and I can leave it on and I don't have to think about it. And that in itself is worth buying. That's really all I got to say on the matter. For further information on what I do to suppress my allergies, I do have a podcast, I do have other things, but everything you can find on my website at the reach out section on longlifehealth.net. For now, if you found this useful, I hope you did. If you've got any tips for me, I'm always exploring, and I still myself suffer with allergies tremendously. So please do leave your comments for any advice and tips that you have, and let me know how you got on with this one if you decided to go for it. Safe. Thanks for watching this review and walkthrough of the DeLonghi AC230 air purifier. Now, if you're like me, who constantly scurries around the internet looking for products to help them relieve their allergies, then you come to the right place, because not only am I going to walk you through this product right now, but I'll also tell you a few things you can do to help relieve your allergies. I do talk about allergies a lot because I suffer with it personally quite severely, and it's a massive detriment to my life. So more information on what I do can be found at longlifehealth.net. But for now, I'll walk you through this air purifier. This video will also be beneficial if you are looking at this air purifier and you've just looked for a review. So yeah, allergies. Anything that causes an airborne allergy, so something causes you to react as a pollutant in the air, whether that's dust, pet hair, pollen, mould, damp, pet dander, dust mites, smoke, anything you can think of that's in the air that causes, that can be breathed in, that can enter our systems through the eyes, through the nose, through the mouth. And if you have an allergic reaction, you produce, your body's natural response is to produce histamine. Of course, if you're someone that suffers with allergies, you'll be familiar with antihistamines, which